Welcome back to the WMMA Today podcast, episode number 77 with Drake Riggs and I, Steve King. Mild show, very light show. Today we have one recap, RIZIN Trigger, the first RIZIN Trigger event. A few mailbag questions, Drake, this week. And then just two fights to preview. One Winter Warriors and then one UFC Vegas 44 preview, and then of course the Phantom Touch breakdown, which is fun. I watched it earlier. I had a lot of fun watching it. As usual, Ghost is amazing at this shit. Um, he's so good, man. Enjoy him. So yeah, let's get it rolling, Drake, with the Horizon Trigger first recap.
Indeed. Let's get into it. Steve, we'll see if this episode is shorter than last week because I feel like the lineup definitely is, but we'll see how long we can stretch it on out. But yes, RIZIN Trigger 1 went down this past weekend. RIZIN in the cage, as I was telling Steve off there. Very weird to see, but kind of cool. Still violent as always. And we had just one fight between the ladies and Momoka in her second fight with RIZIN, making history. She gets her first win as well. Unanimous decision against Miku. Steve, did you end up seeing this fight? Didn't sound like it from what we talked about.
No, I saw the the highlights or whatever.
Yeah.
It looked like it was a good fight from what I saw.
I mean, that's the thing with Momoka, right? I mean, obviously she doesn't have the prettiest record, almost 500, but she always brings it, and she's always at a size and disadvantage no matter who she's going against. Just 4'9". Same case here against Miku, but Miku, this was just her sixth fight, so
Dude,
kind
so
of a
tiny dude.
Yeah, 101 pounds, obviously, as you can see right there.
So
But yeah, big experience difference here. And in this fight, honestly, it was fairly one-way traffic. Like Miku put up a good fight, I thought, but she was just kind of a step behind Momoka the whole time. And the left hand from Momoka was like a magnet to Miku's face every time she came in. Just not too great a defense, as you can see, was bloodied up there a bit. Some very good combinations from Momoka, and she brought. That's what I love about her is she goes into the third round and she's clearly up. At least in my opinion, it was pretty clear that she was winning the first half of the fight. And then in the third round, she comes out hot. Like she's going for the finish, even though pretty comfortable lead, and, continues to pour it on. Miku doesn't quite get the finish, but she dropped her a couple times. So, yeah, very good performance from her. And, I think Miku will be back. She was in there the whole time and kept fighting. But this was just kind of too big of an experience difference, I think, and Momoka really showed her that and was a step ahead, like I said. But it was definitely fun. I definitely recommend you guys to check it out if you did not see it, whether it is this fight from Momoka or the Rena Panchan one, which even though she lost, as I said, always puts up a good showing. So she did so again here, and you love to see it. Feel very happy for her because she had kind of gone on a rough losing streak. So what a way to do it in the cage. And yeah.
So Rain's asking if it's on YouTube yet. I haven't even looked. Is it? Have they put it up yet? No.
I don't think so. Yeah, I still had the stream, so I watched it the day after or whatever. But yeah, they'll be up soon, I'm sure. So
yeah, it only takes a few days, and it just happened on Friday, Saturday morning.
Yes, and for some reason I think because I didn't catch this one live, but I think it started at about 4 a.m. our time. Steve, that seems wrong, but that's what like the countdown said, and I was like, I don't know. But either way, I did not catch it live. But yes, you should definitely check this one out when you get the chance. Cintro asking, and good to see you, sir. He says, RIZIN Trigger, how do we watch? Forgive my out of the loop tendencies. No, it's all good. Same way as the regular RIZIN events. It's on live now.
Makes it pretty damn easy.
Yeah.
Once you watch one event, I mean, that's how you watch all of them.
Yeah, except for Landmark, which appears to be stuck on you next, which is a bummer. But
that's true, Landmark. Yeah. We can't even watch Landmark.
Yeah, so the workaround though for that, Steve, which is Hoops. I admit it is jumping through Hoops, but if you get a VPN and then subscribe to you next, of course.
Exactly. That's the way that we would be able to watch it is through a VPN. And I mean, if you don't have a VPN, you should get a VPN anyway. Especially if you're like most of the people who are in this chat are illegal streamers,
or if you travel a lot, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
that,
hey, I'm not
that,
about to not about to shill out here for Unext or RIZIN or anything. But if you think about it, it's only like $8 to $12 a month, and then you get more than RIZIN. You get like HBO and other shows too. So
that's true.
I mean, hey, it seems worth it to me, especially if you want that good old RIZIN landmark, which we'll get more of too. But yes, intro, everything else though under live now, and then they upload them to YouTube very shortly after. So look forward to the Trigger event being on there soon as well. And Jimmy asked Momoka, did she lose to Panchan and Reina at some point? Never fought Reina, but yeah, Panchan was the first RIZIN kickboxing fight in history, and that was at RIZIN 30 a couple months ago. So yeah. Yeah, so Rue's here as well, says love this show, only show that no nonsense WMA talk, appreciate it. And James giving us a big flattering comment here as well, where he says most WMA shows are passionate about the sport, but this is the only channel that is passionate with a high degree of technical analysis not shown in other WMA channels. Hashtag WMA Today. My goodness, appreciate you, sir.
Yeah.
And Jim says, good to see me looking fresh. Well, it was just that time. It had been a good while since we changed things up, and I also shaved the sides of the hair on top too. So yes, very fresh for the winter season. A little bit counterproductive, but that's how we do it. So all right. Jimmy also asks, how does the cage affect kickboxing matches like this one? Honestly, it didn't really seem to here. Like I don't think they went and even touched the cage a single time in this fight. Yeah, so it was pretty much fighting. You know how if you in that picture, like you can see the black line, there's like the octagon inside the octagon, and how they always talk about it that way. And that's where they have to start behind that when the referee starts and everything. Yeah, they were pretty much in the center of this whole entire fight. Maybe there was a moment where they got close to it, but yeah, it didn't affect it much here whatsoever. Whereas in the ring, like sometimes, we'll see them go into the corners or whatever. But I don't know if it was just a case of how these two fought each other, or I don't know, kickboxing in this ring. It was Momoka's first time fighting in a cage, and I'm sure it was Miku's as well because she has less experience. So yeah, didn't seem to be too much of a problem. So yeah, that was RIZIN Trigger. As we said, just one fight out of 14 or so.
It was
yeah,
a good event, I guess. I didn't watch it, but it seemed like a really good event. A lot of finishes.
Oh yeah, RIZIN rules in a cage, can't go wrong. Plenty of soccer kicks and stomps, and apparently people are complaining, but what are you gonna do? It's what we want. But anyway,
people complain.
Yeah, indeed. And real quick before we advance through the show, Ghost, I sent you a DM about the Phantom Punch breakdown. Please check that at your soonest convenience, sir. All right, let's get into the mailbag, Steve, which is kind of all over the place today. We got, I think, 4 different things, but yeah, good stuff indeed. We'll start off here with our boy Alexander, who he actually dropped this in last week's mailbag for me in my DMs, but I forgot to include it. My apologies, sir. And it's because I didn't really have an answer, I think, is why I kind of forgot about it. But Alex is asking, where is Invicta?
Where the fuck is it?
Well, it's on the silver screen. It's in Bruised. Right? That's where they've been recently.
No shit.
I know. I was meaning to ask around, but I just have not gotten around to it yet, Alexander. But yes, I'm very curious what is going on with Invicta 2, especially since people were kind of anticipating an event around this time. Specifically, the Del Boni and Zappatella rematch was supposed to be, at least.
It doesn't seem like we're going to get one before the end of the year. I mean, we're 2 days away from December now. We're not going to get an Invicta fight by the end of the year. Unless if they do something, I mean, in three weeks time. I just don't see it happening though.
Yeah, not looking great right now. Very unfortunate. I don't know. I still have to get to the bottom of this, Alexander. But yeah, I know more Invicta would be nice, especially I know a lot of people have been confused with the timing of this new deal with
exactly. They have
access and all that.
Yeah, they have a TV station, that caters to fighting. And then their last one was a pay-per-view. Like, they're not even using that streaming service or that TV channel or whatever. It's weird, man. It's weird. I don't get it. You would think that they would want to push out one last event for the year, even if it's not a champion, even if there's no champions on the card. They can make a 5-fight card very easily.
Oh yeah, would not be a problem whatsoever. So, yeah, hopefully January at the latest, right at this point, because I mean,
dude,
I can't even remember what the tournament was. The last event, wasn't it? Jeez. Yeah, that's no good. That is no good. So
yeah,
I have to wait for Invicta. But
yeah, I don't understand.
Yep. But anyway, as we continue on here, all right, we got a couple from Sammy again, and a lot less ridiculous than last time. Appreciate you, Sammy. But we'll start out with Scott's here just because I actually did look for this as he was asking. He says, hey, guys, it's a little off topic, but since Drake just interviewed Hands of Stone John Lineker, check it out. Shameless plug. Can you tell me the name/artist of his walkout song for his fight with Troy Worthen at 1 on TNT, please? It was so good, and I want to add to my playlist. I love the show. Thank you, Scott, so much. So I think that was kind of all he said there. As we look at the other part, he said, just to be certain, I had the walkout on his DVR, listened to it many times. He just can't find the answer to it. So I looked, Scott, earlier today and trying to rewatch the fight, but none of the videos I found had the walkout. Like they didn't show the walkout, because in that case I was just going to go Shazam it for you and see.
Right, that's exactly what I was thinking. I would just Shazam, and yeah, none of the videos have the walkouts. It goes straight to the fight.
Yeah, maybe directly on Bleacher Report. I only looked at YouTube, but I don't know. Yeah, so I would suggest that though, Scott, if you can find a way to find the walkout again, and if it's on your DVR still, dude, you go do that, right? Go get it.
Oh yeah, it's on his DVR. Shazam, use Shazam, or even if you have an iPhone, you can say, Siri, what's this song?
Right.
Just play it really loudly. Siri, what is this song? And it'll tell you, hopefully. But Shazam works.
Yeah. And Ghost, I see your comment there. It's still not working.
Oh, Scott said he deleted it. Wish I didn't delete
it. Damn.
Damn, that sucks.
Well, I could still ask around for you, buddy. No worries. But yeah, we tried. We definitely tried for you, Scott.
Yeah. Honestly, I saw the fight and everything. I mean, watched the event, but I don't remember. I don't remember his walkout.
Must have been damn good though.
Yeah, was it a good song or what, Scott? What was it? What?
He's going through this much trouble. I think it's got to be good.
Yeah, what type of song was it?
All right. Well, we tried. We'll get to the bottom of this. Hopefully he comes out to it again for the Fernandez fight.
Oh yeah, he's fighting soon anyway.
Yep. All right. So I got two here from Sammy. We'll start with this one since I think it came in first. And he asks, generally, with the women, fighters don't have explosive power in their hands unless you're Andrade and rely on the head and arm throw for takedowns. What types of techniques would you have women focus on besides the inside low kick, Ghost, to help them get more stoppages? So I think he adds, also besides elbows. How do we feel about this, Steve? I feel like there's a decent amount of finishes. That's not been a myth necessarily, because I know the stats will support it, especially the lighter you get in weight classes. But I don't know. Initial thoughts in reaction to the question there.
Yeah, I feel like we see enough stoppages in the women's fights, but I mean, I guess just go for a takedown and get on top of them and try to get a finish in with ground and pound or in some kind of submission.
Yeah, and he mentions the head and arm throw there for takedowns, which is,
if you remember, Serena Southpaw talked about that actually, and she said, yeah, she would like to see less of that from the women.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of an easier position, I suppose. And well, what I wouldn't necessarily say that they rely on it, Sammy. It's just maybe, like I said, easier to fall into, maybe sometimes literally. But
Yeah, I don't know.
I think we saw it a little bit more early on, and not even then. If you really,
These women are really technical now. Like, I mean, it it's the women's fighting has evolved so much. They're really good guys. Like, they're phenomenal fucking fighters. They've evolved a lot. It's not the women of the early 2000s anymore.
yeah. And what I was getting at though was like, I think if you look at fights before Ronda, which there's plenty, there is plenty.
Yeah.
I feel like you actually will not see the head and arm throw done too much. I think it was just kind of the wave of styles like what Ronda presented, and obviously Randa Marcos kind of came in there a little bit, and these fighters who kind of had more grappling, maybe stronger backgrounds, would utilize them a bit more. But really, I don't think it was as common as it kind of got blown up to be, because we saw Ronda kind of do it and finish, in those positions a lot. Exactly.
That's what she did.
Yeah. So I think we definitely do see it more than we see in men's fights, but yeah, I don't know if I'd ever say it was something that many people have relied on.
I mean, you don't see Misha Tate going for a
well, she's a wrestler, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Holly Holm, she's a striker. She doesn't do it, and she was a striker. She's a kickboxer, boxer. She never did that shit.
Yeah, very true.
Ghost, yes.
Yep.
First off, Tammy, there are no finishing techniques that will shut someone's lights off. Finishes come from a space of opportunity and context. And I'm assuming he's still writing. Oh, there it is. But if we talk about techniques that could cause damage, it's probably Panchin's front kick to the triangle kick. That move sits women down in kickboxing. Yeah.
Well, you heard it there. So, yeah, I mean, I think Ghost summed that up pretty well.
Yeah.
And again, I always look back at this too, and I don't know how
he's still going.
Is he still? How could you?
But if we talk about techniques that could cause damage, oh no,
that's the same one.
They came up twice on mine.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a thing with everybody as well, Sammy. Like, killer instinct is something I always highlight in all fighters that you won't always have with all fighters. If somebody can have it and the other might not be as good of a finisher, just naturally to seek out the opportunities. Maybe that's a fight IQ thing. Maybe it's just a little bit of extra crazy, but some just, find those moments and go for it a little bit more than others. So what to do to work on that? Well, I think it kind of comes down to who they're training around and the environment and all that kind of thing as well. But yeah, definitely Ghost giving a good response there as well. So
yeah.
All right. So for Sammy's other bit, he says in MMA and with the women as well, he says, can great game planning and good strategy and tactics beat someone who is very fast, explosive, and strong? Can you give some examples? Absolutely. I think, my mind immediately goes to Stipe Francis 1, right? I mean, that's a pretty damn good example of very smart game plan by Stipe to overcome the guy who was obviously much more explosive and stronger to out-wrestle him. And of course, he had to survive a little bit. But even look at Stipe versus Mark Hunt, like that was another good one. Even though I wouldn't say maybe Hunt was faster, but definitely more explosive. strength. Don't know about that either. Probably pretty even, but there are a lot of good examples of that. And if you look at even, I suppose you could look at Valentina and Andrade, as you mentioned Andrade earlier, who I don't know if I'd say, yeah, Andrade isn't faster than Valentina either, but more explosive. I think that's probably safe to say. Stronger. Well, we saw that wasn't the case, but on paper, it looked like it could have been. And Valentina fought her at her own fight a little bit. But yeah, no, I think that's absolutely true, Sammy. That game planning, strategy, the right tactics, and all that. It's all about timing and just effectiveness of the overall techniques to beat those natural, maybe more natural attributes that you're mentioning there in speed, explosivity, and strength. So. And Ghost with a perfect example as well. Israel Adesanya, Paulo Costa. I mean, that's a very good one. So yeah, there's plenty. There are plenty to look at, especially more recently, I feel like. So yeah. Any examples you got, Steve?
No. Other than I was thinking Adesanya and Costa.
Yeah, that's definitely a very good one.
Yeah.
Oh, and Jimmy giving Sammy some props today. There we go. No shenanigans this time in the mailbag. You love to see it. So, all right. Well, that's the mailbag, Steve. And so, with that in mind, we are already getting to the preview, you guys. So, if you want the show to go a little bit longer than an hour or maybe 45 minutes today, ask away because we are very light, and it looks like we
give us examples. Give us things to talk about for the end of the year show.
Yes,
since you guys are all here, list them for us, and I'll type them into my phone as you guys say what you want us to put on the end of the year show for awards and whatnot.
Indeed. As we're having technical difficulties with the Phantom Punch breakdown as well, which is going to make this even shorter. So,
is it not coming up?
It's getting copyright issues, so it doesn't look great right now.
Fucking bummer.
Yes, but hold on, actually,
who the copyright DMCA from on YouTube?
Yes,
from UFC. Those fucking bastards.
But he linked it to me. He linked it. We might be in luck here because I do have it on Google Drive still. So let's see if I can get this to work real quick before we get into the preview. All right, we're good. Never mind, guys. False alarm. I got it. Ghost, don't worry. The day is saved. The day is saved for now. Just a little
Maybe
bit
we
late.
should put them on a drive from now on.
I know. We've been talking about that. Yeah, it flows a lot nicer that way anyway. But this one's a doozy though, so we gotta show this one.
That time that you were gone, I couldn't get mine to load at all.
Right.
Like it kept like doing the buffering thing, and I was like, dude, it's not my internet. Obviously, it's not my internet,
Yeah. Centro with a sigh of relief saying, "Whoo, yeah, don't worry. This one, I think this has to be our biggest one so far, Steve."
I think it's a really good one. I watched the whole thing that day that he sent it to us. I watched it because I don't know. I guess he caught me at the right time, I guess, and I watched it and it's really good. It's a long one, actually.
Yeah, nearly 20 minutes. So get ready for that, everybody. And Ghost says, we talk about strategy and tactics a lot, but 90% of fighting is just being in shape and toughness. It's the last 10% where at the elite level, where tactics and strategy is important. Hard to disagree. James says, Weili versus Andrade is an example of timing over strength. That is true. And especially explosiveness and speed, the way that Andrade came at her. My goodness. Centro says, I would have lost my mind if no Phantom Punch. Don't worry. We got it under control. Y'all should be kissing my ass now. No, just kidding. Stamina. Here we go. He's got Fight of the Year, of course, mandatory. Raspberry Dud Fight of the Year. That's always a good one. Fighter of the Year. Yes. Best performance. Okay. Most declined fighter. Might be a little too negative there, but we'll look into it. Most improved, that's good. Best finish. Okay. Technical turnaround of the year, says Rain. That's a good one. Worst game plan from both Jimmy and Jin.
Yeah, at the same time.
Okay, yeah.
Are they the same person?
Scott asks, what do we think of Bruised? Steve, I have not watched it yet, but I will get around to it.
No, I haven't watched it either. I want to. I mean,
it's on Netflix, right?
I don't know. Is it on Netflix?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah, then I'll for sure watch it at some point. But yeah, no, not yet.
Sounds like it was pretty decent though. Yeah, I've seen like some lists. Yeah, I've seen some lists of people saying top 3. You know, it's in that mix with Warrior. Here Comes the Boom.
It's the best one.
Yeah, definitely. Oh boy, we got best technique of the year from Rue. Most violent fighter of the year, says Scott. That's a good one. Most violent finish. Yes. And Stamina says, it being on Netflix equals no sense of urgency. As Ghost says, Bruised. Rue, there's your Phantom Punch breakdown of Valentina. Shots fired. All right. Plenty of good suggestions, though, right there. So definitely get onto those when we can. But before then, once you're all done there, Steve, we will get to One Winter Warriors taking place this Friday, December 3rd, wherever you are in the world. As we have most used technique coming from Jimmy. That one will be hard to narrow down. Best walkout of the year, says Scott. Well, of course, got to get that one in there.
Yeah, Scott's all about the walkouts, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, we have the conclusion
finally
of the one atomweight Grand Prix that has fallen into shambles. It's just good to get it out of the way.
It's been highs and lows with this thing, man.
An absolute nightmare. As Scott adds, comeback fighter and comeback fight of the year. Yes, always good as well. Why don't we pick the best Phantom Punch of the year, huh? Why don't we pick the best breakdown? I mean, the narrow one down, that's too difficult, isn't it? Well, that's a vote for you guys, actually. You can decide that among yourselves.
Yeah, I actually have a favorite.
It's tough. It's tough. I really loved last week's. I really did. The Ayaka ones, I think, stand out a lot.
The Ayaka ones are really good.
Yeah. So...
2 Ayaka ones, right?
Yeah.
2 of them. Yeah. But let me tell you, this one is really good.
Yeah, we still got to wait to see what happens at the end of this one. Jimmy says best Phantom Punch. Yeah, that's like a poll question or one of those brackets. We'll have to find some bracket generator and do a tournament for the best one.
Oh yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, indeed. But anyway, this week, you guys, let's talk about Stamp versus Ritu. They ended up making it to the finals. At least Stamp was an original. Ritu was supposed to be, and then she lost in a stupid fight that shouldn't have happened, and then they put her back in because India. So now here we are. They made it. They're taking on each other for a chance to fight Angela Lee. At least they've been able to make this happen pretty quickly after all the nonsense. And, you know, still have this happen by the end of the year because it was not looking like it there for a minute. So Rue says best/worst use of question of the year. Jesus, man.
So you want us to put people on blast.
That's a low blow right there. Scott says best and worst post-fight celebration and interview of the year. I like the interview one, of course. But yeah, those are solid. So, Stamp versus Ritu, Steve, how are we feeling about it?
Well,
now that we're here.
If Ritu gets stamped down, which she will, it can end very quickly. Stamp is obviously not a ground fighter. She's a Muay Thai fighter. She's a striker, right? If Ritu, which she probably will, get stamped down, it's a wrap, man. She's a mauler. She's kind of like Habib Tatiana Suarez type of a fighter. Once she's on top, just not as good. Just not as good.
Yeah, still a good ways away from
Yeah.
from those two, but
Like that type though. That type of fighter.
that trajectory, right? Yeah. Robbery of the year, says Jimmy real quick. That's definitely a good one, and I probably agree with that. Flagrant shenanigans of the year. These are hilarious. Yeah, I mean, so I literally just rewatched both of their fights in the semifinals earlier today.
Yeah.
So that was the Olsum fight for Ritu, and then Stamp beating Julie Mezzabarba. And I think what stood out to me most was probably, if I was going to pick a fight, Mezzabarba versus Stamp, where I thought that Julie actually did really well in that fight. A commentary was insanely biased towards Stamp. I don't know if you guys remember or if you watched that one, but if you did, Mitch Chilson was all over Stamp in that one, saying she was dominating like as she's getting hit and taken down. I was like, what are you talking about, man? So that's a thing to look at, right? Is Julie Mezzabarba got a pretty high amplitude takedown on Stamp and got her down fairly easily in the second round, which that's not a good thing. If Julie can do that and you're about to take on Ritu.
It's a wrap, dude. Yeah.
Now, Stamp she did sweep Julie after that and get into mount, which was very impressive. But that was Julie and not Ritu, who has the wrestling in her back pocket. And yes, Julie does have some jiu-jitsu in her back pocket, but I mean, this is Ritu's wrestling we're talking about here. And on the feet against Olsum, which it wasn't really on there too much. Ritu looked good. It was mostly in the first half of the first round, I would say. But then she just kind of took over from there and had her on the ground. And Olsum was very active and squirmy kind of from the bottom, was able to keep Ritu, I think, from doing too much or that much damage with her punches, but she landed a lot of good knees on the ground and got her in some bad positions. Will Stamp be able to do the same? I don't know, but I think she's going to get put on her back, Steve, especially because we've seen in each of Stamp's last so many fights, she's gotten taken down by practically everybody. And Ritu is going to do that. Is going to do that. If that's the case, she's going to have to really have worked on her takedown defense. And the amount of time, which is not much between these last two fights, I don't think is going to be enough for her to make drastic improvements. She can whip up submissions, sure. I mean, they both can. But I just think that if Stamp does not finish her, she's probably going to lose this fight because Ritu is going to be the one controlling the fight, no matter what. I think I'd be surprised if she doesn't manage to do that. So whether it's a submission or a knockout, I think Stamp is going to need a finish in this one. But I think Ritu is going to have her way for the most part. I think it should look the same because she's not going to veer away from what has gotten her to the dance. I don't think so. I think Ritu is going to take the decision. Yeah.
I mean, she's gotten this far with the same way of fighting, and she hasn't changed anything at all through the whole non-tournament fights that we saw from her this past year. She needs to just stay the path, man, and she'll end up fighting for the title. And that's a massive fight for India. For India.
Ritu and Angela Lee, my goodness. That would be something. But yeah, this is I think this is a tough one for Stamp, especially with, her Muay Thai style and just the fact that she likes to throw so many kicks. Like that's going to present openings for, her to get caught and taken down.
That's literally it. That's I mean, she kicks a hell of a lot. So I mean, of course Ritu is going to catch one and fucking take her down. Of course. That's going to happen at least one time in the fight.
Yeah. I mean, even Julie.
What's the over-under on that? Like, how many times does Ritu catch a leg and take her down?
I think she'll probably
2.5.
That sounds good. That's good. I think she'll probably stop a bit, after it happens so many times.
One?
Yeah.
After the first one, if she gets up from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I just think it's a tough one for her. So yeah, I got Ritu in this one. What is your official pick, Steve?
Oh, dude, I'm going Ritu. I've ridden Ritu the whole way. I ain't fucking backing out now. I want this woman to be the champion, dude.
All about the wrestling.
I'm all about it. You know, I mean, you guys know.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
You?
And
You're going RIZIN?
yeah, I got RIZIN as well. I
Yeah.
don't think she'll finish it, but I think she'll get the decision.
She's got to finish, man. She has to finish.
Yeah, it's possible. And Ghost says, or if Stamp is smart, just let RIZIN take her down and get back up like Grundy versus Evlo. Easier said than done, sir.
Yeah, that ain't fucking easy, man. It's not easy when you got a wrestler on top of you who knows how to use their weight and use it the right way.
It's so interesting to me too, like rewatching the RIZIN and Jenilyn fight was I just don't understand like why one doesn't allow up kicks, because there was an illegal, like 2 of them, I think, that Olsum landed at the end of the second round. It's like, well, you allow knees on the ground. Like, what are we doing here, one? Where are the up kicks at?
There's really no difference. I mean, knees are they're worse than the up kick is.
I mean, look what happened to Reina last week.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that is the Atomweight Grand Prix finals. Stamp versus RIZIN for a chance to fight Angela Lee. Oh my goodness, can't wait to just see her back again. I wonder how soon they will try and make that after
do it
this
like
fight.
January, February, right? February, maybe March.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen in January. I don't know why I said that month.
Unless it was like the very end.
Probably that's still a little bit quick, depending on RIZIN. But I mean, she's gotten in there fairly fast after fights.
Yeah, because I mean, what she had the I forget who was before the B fight, but yeah, I mean, the kind of this whole, she's been very active, obviously.
Yeah, but the thing about that, Drake, was we didn't know exactly when those fights happened.
That's also true. That is also true. A little bit of funny business.
Yeah.
But either way, just ready to put this thing behind us because it has not been easy to get here.
Like it was. Remember when we were like all about it at the very beginning when one came
looked
out?
Great at the beginning.
Yeah, we were like, holy shit! An atomweight tournament goes on to fight Lee and all that, and then dude, it just took a
rumbled.
Nosedive. It just took it down. Man, that was sad.
Oh, and we got a trigger for the Kana bat signal. Kana army is out because Stamina mentioned Loretta. We got in Kana I stand, banners afloat, as you may say. Hopefully we can see Kana back soon as well. Indeed, that'd be great. But all right, so you guys mentioned Cheyenne Bays, who no longer exists, is Cheyenne Blismas once again.
I actually asked Drake about that earlier, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I was just looking at Tapology earlier, and then I saw her name change, and I was like, "What happened?" But of course, I mean, obviously, you can put the puzzle together. You guys are smart. Something happened, right? We don't know. We don't know anything about it, but we just know that there's a name change, I guess.
Can only speculate.
Yeah.
And Jin says one should have just copied the Invicta tournament format. Well, one can't. They have to be the originators of everything. So the best Atomweight Grand Prix in women's history is no longer arguable, and they said that in the semifinals still, even after all the nonsense. So gotta love it. But anyway, let's get through this one because I know you guys are just dying to talk about Vlismas versus Mallory Martin, which is the only fight, unfortunately, at UFC Vegas 44 this Saturday night. Great main event, Rob Font and Jose Aldo.
Oh,
but
my God, Jose Aldo. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I can't believe this isn't a pay-per-view fight. I can't believe they didn't put that on the year-ending pay-per-view.
I'm not mad at that, man, because we get 5 rounds this way.
Oh, no, yeah, neither am I. I'm perfectly fine with it. But I mean, this is a huge fight, guys. Like this is a big fight for. I mean, one of them can get a title shot after this.
I don't know. I feel like Aldo might be in a little bit of no man's land, unfortunately. With
You never know with the UFC, though, man. You
yeah.
never know. If Aldo wins in a great way, they're gonna be like, all right, Aldo's back. Fuck yeah, we're putting that guy in. You know what I mean? Like they will be all about Aldo. And then the same goes for Font. If Font knocks Aldo out, then they're gonna be like, all right, that's the guy right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we will find out about that this weekend. And before we get into this fight, Stamina with a very good point, as his missed opportunity of the year goes to Invicta for not capitalizing at all on the release of Bruised by not having any events or tie-ins, no promotion at all. Comically bad decision on their part. Yeah, that would have definitely helped.
It's just so weird. Like this is what Drake or what we were talking about earlier. It's just I don't understand. Like I don't know what's going on. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, very odd. But Scott says, yes, big fight. Love Aldo, but Font's tough, especially at 5 rounds. But no mistake, Aldo is the man. Yeah, I think 5 probably helps Aldo, honestly.
I think five helps Aldo. Aldo's a champion. He's been there. He's been in those wars, 5-round wars.
Oh, yeah. Some instant classics. The Chad Mendez fight, of course, comes to mind. The Frankie fights. Yeah. And Go says, such a great card. And Martin and Vlismas somehow snuck their way in, like Jean Vellante and Chris Barnett. Hey, now. Cuddly Bear, though. He's not Huggy Bear. Chris Barnett. He's a good time. And I'm not reading that comment, Jimmy. I see you. But Scott says, was the selling of Invicta just a cash grab? Why leave Fight Pass? It was great. No, not necessarily. I think they must still be going through like the transition period. I trust Shannon to have something coming here for the next year, because I mean, she said she wanted to have
22 events.
Yeah. So maybe it's kind of, all right, we'll ramp it up here once the new year. And that's hopefully anyway, but that's the idea is, all that great stuff going forward. So yeah. And Carrie is hyped and excited for this fight. Glad to see it. Welcome in, Carrie. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so let's talk about it, Steve. Let's get out of the way. Martin versus Cheyenne Vlismas. How do you feel about it? I think that it's fairly interesting in regards to I have trouble kind of seeing how it will go. I favor Cheyenne just because, as we've seen specifically in Mallory's UFC run so far, her fight IQ has just been very poor. It's been not great in these last 3. I mean, first fight was against Vera. Vera just Vera'd on her, which is going to happen. The Hannah Cyphers win. She got dropped and almost finished by Hannah Cyphers. Was able to rally a great comeback, but
she could be 0-3 in the UFC had she not had that comeback.
Yeah, and then 9 months ago already, the Viana loss by submission armbar. I mean, played on the ground with Viana. We knew that was not a good idea. That was just a terrible matchup for her. I remember talking about that going in. It was going to be tough for her.
This isn't how we saw Mallory Martin do her career in the UFC. This isn't how we saw it. Like it hasn't been good at all. Like she's not that fiery fighter that she was in Invicta.
Well, I think it was too soon for her, honestly, and I don't know if
we've seen that a lot actually with a lot of these Invicta fighters coming up, or even contender fighters.
Yeah,
it's just too soon. Like they say, there's levels to this shit. There's literally levels between the UFC and other promotions.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Some people are ready for it. Some aren't quite. And I mean, the same case could be argued for Cheyenne, but we have yet to see it as much, I think, as with Mallory. Just in comparison to those last two fights in particular, yes, got beat up pretty good by Montserrat. And then after that, really was, I hate to say that, knockouts or anything like that are lucky necessarily, but I mean, the Gloria DePaula one was about one of the luckier knockouts that you will see, just because Gloria completely decided not to block her face when she stood up, and just terrible timing. It was just very bad on Gloria DePaula's part, obviously.
That was a great knockout.
Yes, it was very, very nice, but
really
that's definitely a rare situation for the wrong reasons.
You guys can not like Cheyenne for your reasons, and I mean, it's fair. You can like who you want and dislike who you want, but you can't say that knockout wasn't good. Like, it was a really good knockout.
Yep. And Ghost says, serious note, the fighter who is toughest and in the best shape will win this fight, regardless of how much Martin trains with Namajunas. Yeah, that has not seemed to help her too much. But as I did say last time, last time we
got beat by Hannah Cyphers, for God's sake. You guys know how I feel about Hannah Cyphers.
Last time we mentioned her training with Namajunas, and I think other people training with champions like that and such. I kind of feel that the more time with somebody like that, the better you'll be after that time. So maybe she'll show us some new wrinkles having had this much time. And I did not realize that Viana loss was actually 9 months ago already. So that is a decent amount of time, depending on how much she's been training with Rose. Obviously, Rose doing her own thing lately, but yeah, it's a time thing, I think, in that regard. But from what we've seen, obviously, has not mattered too much. Jin, he says Gloria DePaula decided to get up at the wrong time, 100%. And Jimmy says that KO is not as impressive as Dakota's head kick. Well, few things are. That was also a great fan of punch. I should shout out that one, of course. I mean, they're all great, of course. But so for this fight, it's a tough one to pick, just because the samples we have, at least in their recent fights, have been kind of all over the place. I think that if Mallory Martin fights to her strengths, which typically is obviously ground and pounding out chicks, right, Steve? I mean, we've seen her do that several times. It's kind of the best area for her. Then she'll be fine. But what we got, she's actually taller than Cheyenne. That's kind of surprising. I just would have felt like, having seen them in their careers, I thought that Mallory was a little bit tinier, but that's kind of surprising to me. Where she actually has advantages in both by an inch. So that's all right. Maybe she has a chance then. And it kind of goes to the toughness thing that Ghost points out. But I think on the feet, Cheyenne's going to have the advantage. She's a better striker. Mallory obviously has proven not to be that strong on the feet. Maybe again has improved, having worked with Rose and the elevation team. I mean, how can you not, right? You got to be faithful there. But again, some things translate better than others. So ultimately, I think this fight will come down to if Martin can employ her game plan of getting Cheyenne to the ground and pummeling her and needing a finish. I think that if she tries to go for decision, because generally you don't try and do that, but if she can't finish Cheyenne, it'll give Cheyenne much more time to finish her, which I think might be a little bit more possible. Just from their striking talents, I guess you could say. But it's a tough one because I feel like they both have a lot of unpredictabilities still. So yeah. Stamina says, I'd rather watch Cheyenne than Hannah Goldie or Miranda Granger, but I guess that's not saying a great deal. Yeah, why are you picking on them, Stamina? Come on now. Rain says that Ghost said Demopoulos rolls in jiu-jitsu with Whaley. We don't know if that will help her. Yeah, exactly. To be determined a bit. Scott, says prediction and method of victory for this fight. Well, officially, I'm gonna go. Oh, this is so tough, man. This is really a toss-up for me.
It really is tough. There's a better fighter of the two. You know one, Drake. You know one is UFC ready, the other one isn't.
Or more ready than the other, maybe.
Yeah, more ready than the other. Right.
I'm taking Cheyenne. I think.
Yeah.
I think by. I'm going to say round 3 TKO. I think she'll actually finish it because again, this boils back. We're looping back to earlier in the show talking about killer instincts. I think
she has it.
Has a better one.
Yeah, she has. I think she's hungry. You know, she's got that. She's mean. You know, she's a bitch. That's what you want. Like it's. But I'm saying
she
that,
said it herself.
Right. But I'm saying that like a good way. Like she's a fucking mean bitch. Like that's what you want. Like I want to see that from these fighters. I want to see these fighters be just fucking nasty. Cheyenne's kind of nasty, man.
Yeah. And I mean, so we've seen that from Mallory too, you know, when she's screaming at people on the ground and all that. But
yeah. We haven't
Yeah.
seen it in a long time, though. And that was against lesser opponents.
Yeah. Scott says, I have it for Blismas as well by decision, and it won't be all that competitive. All right. He thinks it should be pretty easy for her. I mean, that's the thing,
But then
right?
he said he hopes he's wrong, by the way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it just really comes down to probably the fight IQ of Mallory, because I think if she, you know, does what we know she can do, which is, you know, ground and pound people and get them down, control them there, and having seemingly, at least on the numbers here, we'll have to see what they look like next to each other, but size advantage ever so slightly, should be able to help her. So if she can do what she does best, she should have a pretty solid chance here. But again, I don't feel too confident in that based off what we've seen in her last couple fights. So,
I mean, she should be 0-3. Like, I don't.
That was pretty crazy that she survived against Cyphers. Yeah.
Right. But that just shows, like, Cyphers isn't. She's not a finisher at all. She should have finished Mallory Martin. It should have been a wrap, man. But she didn't. She let Mallory Martin come back, and obviously Mallory Martin finished her. That should have never happened. But Cheyenne will not let that happen at all. She won't. She's a bad bitch, man.
As Ghost chimes in and says, light note, if Mallory's inside leg kicks, or if Mallory inside leg kicks Cheyenne, her blitzes won't work. Attacks on the same rhythm, but she is tougher, which will make any technical deficits from Bays meaningless. Yeah, there you go. Jin says, rooting for Mallory, but this seems like exploitative BS for Cheyenne to win. I wouldn't go that far with it.
It's Mallory is a decent fighter. I don't think this is. It's not. She's not fighting. Cheyenne's not fighting Hannah Cyphers. Or who did Stamina say?
Hannah Goldie and Granger.
Hannah Goldie, right? Like Mallory Martin's better than that.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this one plays out. So we are both Team Blismas on this one. As Rue asks for, can we just schedule Kanako versus Bice because he wants to see a murder? My goodness. No, let's not do that. Kanako has bigger fish to fry, and somebody else I cannot wait to see back, of course. All right, you guys. That's UFC Vegas 44. Boy, oh boy. Just 2 fights this week. And I think safe to say we're probably both more excited for Stamp versus Ritu.
Yeah. For sure.
So, yeah.
Ritu, I mean, love that girl.
Yeah. And Scott says, do you think Martin will attempt the Bulldog choke? I mean, if it's there, sure. But you can't really predict a Bulldog choke, I don't think. Oh
It would be
boy,
fun. That would be fun.
that'd be fun.
Could you imagine how pissed off Cheyenne would be if she got bulldog choked?
Just the
Like,
most
like she's not a good loser at all.
to lose by a bulldog choke.
Yeah, could you imagine?
Ay.
That would be hilarious.
I could imagine, but all right, you guys. Ghost gave us the spoiler last week. Let's get into it right around the hour mark. Great timing, actually. Fan of Punch breakdown number 17. It is Ketlin Vieira versus Miesha Tate. A little bit of a double whammy, not more in favor of one fighter over the other. At least from what I looked at, I guess we will find out right now. Steve watched the whole thing. He got the pre-scoopty scoop, and we'll get into it. No technical difficulties to be found. So here we go. Google Drive for the win. As we go full screen here, and let's see, can I zoom a little bit? Boom, boom. Nope, it's zooming outward when I zoom in. How weird is that? All right, well, that's okay. All right, popcorn ready, says Cintro. Attaboy. I remember when Cintro first saw his first Fan of Punch breakdown, he's like, what should I expect from this? Well, now look at him.
He's got the popcorn.
He's got the popcorn. All right. Vera versus Tate, a study in positional fighting. Every fighter that has been taught by Trevor Whitman understands three fundamental positions in striking: on the tracks, on the fence, and squared off. On the tracks, close stance means that your lead foot is lined up with your rear foot and your rear foot is lined up with the opponent's lead foot. On the fence is when your lead foot is lined up with your opponent's lead foot. When your opponents turn towards you, you counter them. You can't counter them as they are stepping to readjust their position. Squared off. This is when you have your lead foot pointed towards your opponent's crotch or midsection, and they are square in relation to your stance. When the opponent is squared off, it becomes easy to strike them off balance. Yeah. These positions might seem basic, but they give each of the fighters structure when it comes to chaotic nature or striking. Regardless of style, pressure, ring general, or versatility, it gives them a guide to which they can formulate a strategy and create tactics to achieve that strategy. But we also have to consider that Tate only trains with him on a limited basis, so the tactics of reaching those positions are not as refined as Usman, Namajunas, or Gaethje. Vera, on the other hand, was able to exploit Tate's tactical weaknesses despite her lack of knowledge of these positions. Round one.
Fight.
There we go. Tate attacks on the tracks. Jab to the chest lands while Tate gets her head outside Vera's lead shoulder. Tate exits on the straight line on the tracks, which is dangerous. All Vera has to do is step in and fire a rear hand, which becomes easy since Tate is recovering her balance on the tracks. She capitalizes on this later in the fight. Vera and Tate are both on the fence. Vera L steps to regain balance and create a new angle towards Tate's lead hand. Tate attacks on a forward line while on the fence as Vera is circling towards Tate's lead hand. Vera steps in with her lead foot and plants her rear foot to load her right hand. Tate is now on the tracks and stuck in the mud since Vera attacked while Tate was stepping. When you take a step, there is a moment where you need to regather yourself back to stance. Vera timed that step perfectly. Rear hand misses, but the elbow lands. The rear elbow lands. Both fighters are now on the tracks. Vera is in line to land her rear uppercut. This is why step-up attacks on the tracks are dangerous. Whaley, Volkanovski, and Kai Kara-France use step-up kicks while the opponent is squared or on the fence. Tate's lead body kick is crowded by Vera's step-in lead hook. Lead hook closes the door and puts Vera back to her stance. Tate is off balanced. Vera attempts to attack on the fence by planting her rear foot and loading the right hand, excuse me. Tate squares up Vera by taking a step inside. Now Vera is the one stuck in the mud because her step is being countered. Tate lands a nice jab while slipping inside it. Both fighters on the tracks. Choo-choo. Now Tate is stuck in the mud while Vera counters Tate's step.
Straight up. Can't move.
Jab lands with some stank since Vera transfers her weight from the rear foot to the lead foot. Some stank on it. Tate gets off the tracks and squares Vera by pushing off her rear foot and stepping towards the midsection of Vera. Jab to the chest lands. Tate takes a sharp step towards the lead hand to put Vera on the fence. Tate squares up Vera by going from the fence and stepping inside and lands a jab to the neck. Vera takes a step back to get back on the tracks and does a nice job parrying the rear straight. Vera takes an L step to create a new angle and regain balance. Ring awareness. The best time to attack on the tracks is when the opponent's back is near the cage. Tate now only has 2 ways of escape. It's hard to move laterally in a staggered stance. This time, Vera squares up Tate to land her jab.
That jab is working, man.
Mm-hmm. Tate level changes to force a reaction. Vera tries to sidestep to Tate's fence. Long rant. Front kicks take no talent to throw since they don't require the flexibility of a high kick or the balance required for a low kick. Yet with the women, it's not thrown with frequency. There are only 3 fighters who can catch kicks effectively and punish them. One is a current champion. The other is a former champion. The last is an undersized strawweight. More women need to throw more front kicks. All right, Ghost laying it down. This is the setup that Rose used to lance Joanna with lead jabs. It's a throwaway rear straight that brings the rear foot forward to allow her to close distance quickly for a lead jab. Counter hook lands beautifully, but Vera and Whaley were gun shy and had a bad understanding of distance, quote unquote. Getting sassy he is now. Round 2.
Fight!
Mm-hmm. Both fighters on the tracks. Tate is overextended due to Vera parrying her arm down. Tate tries to exit by flanking the lead shoulder line with her rear foot. However, she squares herself up for Vera. Vera squares Tate up after the exchange. Hard jab lands as Tate steps in while squared off. Both fighters take a linear retreat, which is way too common in MMA. We saw the exact same exchange we saw earlier. Tate attacks on the tracks and Vera countering beautifully while Tate overextends. Tate shuffle steps from the tracks to a new position. Tate is Vera squared. Jab lands. Tate would have had more success in this fight if she kept looking to square Vera instead of attacking down the tracks. Tate has Vera squared off. Rear foot steps up. Lead front kick lands, stopping Vera's advance.
That was nice.
Mm-hmm.
It was needed.
Vera lands her jab while Tate moves in on the tracks. Big instep allows Tate to close the distance while Vera is leaning back. Since Vera leans back, Tate is able to land her rear straight. Leaning back is not the best defense when on the tracks like this. On a hair trigger, Vera fires back by pushing off her rear leg to fire a rear straight, but Vera was gun shy, quote unquote, and doesn't understand distance, quote unquote. I appreciate the sass here. Vera fires her rear hand while Tate is trying to L-step. Ooh, big rear hand lands while Tate is trying to regain her balance.
Vera was just touching Tate.
Yeah, man. Tate leaves her stance to step over to get off the tracks. Step through by Vera exposes the back leg, the back of Tate's leg. Not the best looking low kick in terms of mechanics, no pivot or hip turnover, but very effective in kicking the back of the knee, which is what matters. This is one of the problems with being on the fence. The back of your knee is susceptible. Spun around. On the tracks, this is the second application of the low kick within a context on the tracks that Vera does nicely. Pumps jab to force a reaction. Vera slips inside to the low kick. However, the kick is not the best since Vera doesn't slip deep enough. Lovely left hook to close the door, but people keep saying that Vera was gun shy. That is true. That is. Even the commentary said this. On the tracks. The good thing about throwing front kicks on the tracks from the close side of that is that it is hard for the opponent to read if it's whoops. Trying to go back here. If it's going to the face, which we can see it did. Tate hits a beautiful front kick to the face, but hits the nose and not under the chin. It's a little tickle. While Vera ate a front kick to the face, she does apply the correct defense late by underhooking the leg. Vera throws a rear straight as a counter while Tate turns around to expose the back of her head to defend it. Not the smartest thing to do. Tate would have had more success on the tracks if she brought her rear leg up like in this exchange. Bringing the rear leg up allows her to close distance unexpectedly since it presents a false distance. Good jab there. Coming in hot. Round 3.
Fight.
There we go. Round 3 to 5 have all similar. Whoa. Too quick. Have similar exchanges from round 1 and 2, so only the instructive moments will be highlighted for the rest of the fight. Fair enough. Tate has a long stance on the tracks. Side note, Tate is the one being punched in the face. We are not talking about what Ghost would do if he were in there with Vera. That's for his fantasy fiction book. But we are talking about what a very good fighter should be doing against her. Tate should have used this rear foot step up to close the distance more during this fight. She would have found more success if she hit this step up behind the double jab, since Vera retreats on a straight line instead of charging with 1-2s like she does here. Fantasy fiction shoutouts. How about that? Got it all. Kicking the trailing leg of an opponent is always a good thing. Doing a step inside low kick while the opponent circles away is even cooler. Bam. Bam, ba-bam. While Tate tries to position her body low so she can kick high, her eyes makes the attack obvious. My eyes couldn't read. Vera counters jabs on Tate's step up. Vera ends her combination with a rear straight while Tate is off balanced. Sticking out the lead hand to force Tate to jab, and Vera's cross counter was money throughout the fight. Tate level changes with the rear leg step up. This is another great way to hide the step up, but not done nearly enough by Tate. This time, Vera sees the step up and intercepts the step with a jab. All right, little pause here. More counter punching from Vera when both fighters are on the track. Round 4.
Fight.
Tate would have been a lot more successful if she fought the entire fight the way she starts the first 30 seconds of round 4. Bummer to hear it. Unfortunately, it is very rare for fighters to make adjustments and stay disciplined with the fight, with that pace for an entire fight. This sequence shows the effectiveness of Tate bringing her rear foot up to close the distance and change the dynamics of her lead hand. Swanging. Yeah, that was definitely a solid start there for Misha. More lovely counter rear hands by Vera when Tate attacks on the tracks. Gave her a little Stockton slappy there. Jab by Tate draws out the cross counter by Vera. Tate level changes once Vera's hips square up for the cross counter, using convincing boxing exchanges, understanding how Vera likes to counter, and entering with level changes would have been a great strategy for Tate. Vera, as seen in rounds 1 through 3, ends the exchange with a rear hand counter. Just sneaks it on in there. Everyone in MMA needs to throw more front kicks. Squaring up the opponent and throwing the body jab also needs to be thrown more in MMA. This Fiori's last week. Round 5.
Fight.
Lovely counter. 1-2 down the tracks by Vera.
Yeah. She had that all day.
Oh, yeah. Tate threw one front kick in each round and was very successful with it the few times she threw it. In future fights, she can build a strategy around building a foundation with the front kick.
Yeah, she used it nicely.
While not set up with deception, Vera did a great job firing her jab while both fighters are on the tracks.
Her jab was so precise.
Yeah, look at that. Just touching.
Yeah. Touch and go. Touch and go.
Yeah.
It was fucking working, man. That whole fight.
Yeah, and then we get the counter uppercut right here, landing like in the early rounds, but this one lands quite clean. Vera slips to the inside to set up her counter hook. Fighters that slip to the inside consistently, and Shane Burgos and Vicente Luque slipping inside is very dangerous, which makes these fighters fun to watch. Great job by Vera closing the door with her lead hook counter. Breaking the posture with a collar tie and punching off the clinch break is something every MMA fighter needs to do more. Y'all could learn. Countering the step with the jab, as we saw earlier in the fight. Tate does an outside slip to get on the fence in order to land a body jab. Quite possibly the coolest moment of the fight. Disappointing, it only happened once. Hooking off the body jab. This combination is as rare as rooster teeth, since the person throwing it has to shift the weight to the back foot twice while advancing. More counter jabs land by Vera while Tate attacks on the tracks. Another counter jab by Vera. All right.
Money.
Vera did a great job managing distance and firing counters on a hair trigger. Although Vera normally has a pressure fighting style against Tate, she fought with patience and timing. Why is it the case when a pressure fighter decides to change their strategy with a measured approach, they are often labeled as gun shy or doesn't understand how to manage the distance? Since when is it ever smart? When is it ever a smart idea to run in the face, in face first to pressure an opponent? If someone can generate KO power, wouldn't it be smart to use creative entries or counters instead of brawling, quote unquote, like some of the quote unquote intellectuals of the Twitter mailbag seem to want? He's calling out specifically the mailbag, Steve. My goodness.
I told you guys this was a good one.
Juicy. Juicy. All right. Well, what do we think about that, Steve?
I mean, it was literally the amount of time as the whole fight. He basically showed the fight.
Roughly. Pretty much. But yeah, I mean, for his first question, essentially saying, why are fighters labeled gun shy in these kind of cases or not understanding?
I think it's the commentary, because I went back and watched this fight again with the commentary on, because I want to know what you guys were even talking about, because I don't watch commentary on at all ever anymore. And man, they were very bad. They were very, very bad. Like horrible bad. Like fucking not UFC caliber of commentary bad.
But worse.
And I think that since it's, Daniel Cormier, a champion, he's saying his words, and it's going into people's brains, and they're thinking, since it's Daniel Cormier saying it, it's got to be true. And that ain't fucking true at all. I don't care who it is. It could be God himself fucking saying that Vera wasn't using her jab right. God himself would be wrong, because Vera was using the jab, right?
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, and it was fucking clean, and it hurt Tate through the whole fight. Look at Tate's face after that fight. She was mangled up. That was basically because of the jab, man.
Yeah.
It was the commentary. The commentary is atrocious. So bad.
Yeah, that one was
I can't deal. Like, I can't deal with it. Like, I can't. This is why I turn commentary off, because it just ruins fights, man. Like, you take your eyes off of what is actually happening, and then you take in what the people on commentary are saying, and you're like, oh yeah, they know what they're talking about, right? Like, you should be able to trust them, right?
Yeah, I should.
Yeah. No, you fucking shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think you summed that up very nicely. I was essentially going to say that they say that because they don't know what they're talking about. But I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand. I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I think it's also got to just be general ignorance towards the fighters specifically.
Yeah,
Like,
for
I
sure.
promise you, for some unknown reason, like a lot of people probably have seen Caitlin Vera for the very first time in that fight, unfortunately. And I noticed even before the fight, there were a lot of people who very clearly did not know who Miesha Tate was. I was like, geez,
It's
all these
unbelievable.
casuals out here.
She's literally a champion. She was on the tough, one of the most watched tough shows with Ronda Rousey, of course. I mean, Ronda helped out a lot, obviously, because that was at like her peak. But Misha was there. She did her job in that show as well. How the fuck does anybody who calls themselves a fan of MMA not know who Misha Tate is? I understand Caitlyn. I understand that. Fine. But not knowing who Misha Tate is, but you just started watching like a year ago, probably, right? And those are the people who you should not be fucking talking to on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube because they're a bunch of idiots.
Mic drop. There you go. Yeah. Well said, sir. I think then as for this second part, Ghost, you know you answered that yourself. You pretty much answered your own question. So yeah. And I just love all the interaction that this segment brings because I have not checked the comments since we started because
It
I'm,
opens up their. A lot of people were saying, it was a boring.
I'm about to read them,
It
Steve. I'm about
wasn't
to
a good
read these
fight. They
comments.
were saying it wasn't a good fight. No, before they
Oh,
were
right,
saying
right.
it wasn't a good fight and it was boring, whatever. It really wasn't boring at all. Like it was actually really, it was a really high level, good fight, great fight. 5 rounds, 5 rounds of greatness.
Yeah, it was quite good. But yeah, I was saying I love the interaction this segment brings because there are 68 unread comments that I have yet to see. So let's go through them because we do that every week anyway. Always very fun to see the reactions of the people here. And if Alvin showed up, because
He did.
he did. Oh, wonderful. Just wonderful. So let's see. Where are we? Okay, I think I got it. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, I went a little bit too far, maybe. Hold on. Killing time. Oh, popcorn is ready for Centro. Right, there we go. Jimmy says, I did not enjoy this fight, but if anyone can change my mind, it's Ghost. Can't wait to see how it evolves here.
There it is.
Rain says he hated this fight. My goodness. Stamina says, wow, okay, I'd expect Hughes to... Okay, they're talking about the other fight. He says, but Ghost is so cool, I'll give it a try. Is that Justin Gaethje in the pictures in the beginning? Yes, James, it's him and Whitman. Jimmy says, this is so cool. Positions and striking. Jen says, man, Ghost with the diagrams, always. Rue says, what a start. Such a cool concept on the track, square it off, and on the fence. Rain says, WMMA Today plus Ghost Phantom. These guys saying better than
There's a
other
few
people.
women there. Don't read them all.
Okay. He does a bunch of people.
I really do appreciate what Rain was doing, but
yes. Yeah. No. Fair enough. Caught me there. James says, who knew that this fight was so technical? Well, the ones who watched it. Rain says, yeah, but those... Oh, he's still talking about that. Centro points out the stank. Yes, I enjoyed the stank as well. Rue says defense tracks and squared is the theme today. Yes, it is. There he is.
Alvin!
Good evening, gentlemen. Wow, just came in time for the Mr. Phantoms breakdown. Yes, there you go. Rue says, geez, I wonder who those three women are that can catch kicks. Jimmy says, Ghost calling out Yusuf. Yeah. Centro says, haha, didn't someone from the mailbag say that Vera was gun shy? Probably. I don't remember that specifically, but yes, I'm sure that's exactly what it was referencing.
He's calling out Yusuf.
Oh, was that Yusuf? Okay, see, I'm all over the place these days. James says, squaring people up, that's a neat trick. Jin says, no inside low kick this week. There was one, right? There was one. He was a little... That was probably before.
No.
Yes, brilliant. Plenty of front kicks. Jamie says, oh man, Vera has good distance control to be able to force Tate to overextend. James says, throw more front kicks, people. Damn. So squaring off is a positional technique that can help anyone. Yep. Jen says, I thought the fight was boring, but when you look at this breakdown, I missed so much stuff. Fucking commentary, man. Rue says, spicy talk by Ghost, but who is he referring to? 4 question marks. Stamina says, saucer of milk needed after all these catty video captions. Alvin says, I love the display of heart and skills by these two, but this makes me appreciate both fighters even more. You have me on my seat right now, Mr. Phantom. Oh, getting Alvin fired up. Jin says, Ghost isn't making fun of either fighter. Who is he referring to when he says gun shy or managing distance? James is laughing. Fantasy fiction book got them all cackling. The unmitigated sass. I'm so here for it, says Stamina. Indeed. Jin says Ghost with his fantasies about Ketlin. Rue says, so spicy today. Rain says, oh my God, he has fantasies about Vera. Syndrome, maybe Tate should have listened to Ghost. Citro says, I saw JHK say that Tate had not improved. This is clearly wrong, man. How does Ghost do this every time? Jimmy says, Misha looked good for those first 30 seconds. Yeah, I mean, that was a great start in the 5th round, the 4th round, whichever one it was. James says, so disappointing that Tate couldn't maintain that pace. Easier said than done, right? As Ghost pointed out. Jen says, holy crap, this is going every single round. I told you it was a doozy today.
You did the whole fight.
Yeah. Rain says, off nice. Nice front kick there by Tate. Is the front kick the new inside low kick, says Rue. James says, front kick is the new inside low kick, guys. Yes, he's repeated him. Rain says, lovely jab and counter uppercut. New appreciation for Vera. That's great to see. Citra says, Ghost just solved the boring fighter. Everyone just slipped the inside. Rue says, countering to the step is brilliant. James says, holy shit, Ghost is obsessed with hooking off the jab, and Tate just hooked off the body jab. Skip that one, but that's a good one. James says, Ghost calling out Yusuf. Cincho says, I think we just found the Phantom Punch breakdown of the year. I mean, in length, it's definitely the largest.
Guys.
Lot in there.
Good one.
Alvin says, what a genius breakdown. I mean, Alvin, still of approval, obviously. Stamina says, the indirects within the commentary where the most powerful strikes landed. 50-45 Ghost on all scorecards. And he says, Ghost says, called out Yusuf for this one, and the commentary was horrendous. Yes, it was. Stamina says, appeal to the authority is an all too common logical fallacy. Jin says, what a wonderful breakdown. Completely changed my mind about this fight. Thank you, Ghost. That's what I love to hear, Jin. Thank you, Ghost, indeed. He is a miracle worker. Jimmy says, Ghost has dropped some massive truth bombs. He's opening eyes over here, this guy. I love it. Stamina says, one day we'll be able to kill the fight commentary and just hear the cage mics.
It'd be nice.
I know. That's a dream. That's one thing that, I mean, I love the RIZIN commentary. I think Joe Ferraro is great, and pretty much anyone he goes with. He's got Damian Brown right now. But if you notice, when they re-upload them on YouTube, they don't have commentary at all. It's kind of cool, especially when you go from like watching live and maybe want to revisit. And you're like, oh, it's a different atmospheric feeling. So every promotion should at least have an option, whether it's live or afterward, like RIZIN does, because I like that. Nice. Yeah,
maybe it would just, people would be able to watch fights for themselves, and not have to get a biased opinion, because that's what basically it is. It's just an opinion from somebody. I mean, sure, they fought or whatever, but that doesn't mean that they're right.
Obviously.
Yeah. And we're seeing a lot more of that.
Yeah. Scott asking here, which commentators do you like to have on the broadcast? So who are your favorites, Steve?
Borosenko's so good, man. She really is. There. She's done really, really good. I really do like Michael Bisping. He's kind of hit and miss, though. Like when he's with DC, he's not good. But when he's with Anik, when it's just Anik and Bisping, they're really good. They work really well together. Senko, if it was Anik, Bisping, and Senko together, I think that's the dream trio for the UFC, to be honest. They really do need to give Sanko some more time, though. They really do.
Yeah, not too bad there at all. Assuming you're speaking UFC specifically here, Scott, since I did mention the RIZIN team, and shout out to Joe Ferraro, of course.
Yeah, I mean, if you Bellator can just fucking do what, like, just get rid of everything, and I would be fine with it. But like, there's for the UFC, which is obviously the most watched MMA product.
Most rotating groups too.
That's true. Yeah, I actually did like Dan Hardy on there.
I was gonna say Hardy and Gooden were pretty solid. I liked them with Felder too. Like, you throw him in. I mean, I'm fine with just the two of them. I think they should. I mean,
Hardy and Gooden were really good together. We're not going to see them again.
Well, unfortunately, but of course, for me, I think I really like Dominic, of course, and I know I'm gonna get flack for that. Dominic's my guy. I love Dominic.
Him and DC are like the same person.
No.
Yeah, they're both assholes, dude. Like, they're both have these like opinions, and don't fucking put Bisping and Cruz together. Oh my god, why did they do that?
Yeah, they're kind of similar to Joe and DC, like having a little bit too much fun, whatever you want to call it. But I think I do like Paul too. I think Paul Felder's pretty good. So if I was to have like a trio, maybe Anik, Dominic, and Felder, I can take most people with Dominic and Anik, but yeah, I don't know. I do enjoy, for like from an entertainment standpoint, Joe Rogan with Dominic and Anik, just because Dominic always tells him like straight up if something's wrong. Like, I love that, and it's needed for Joe, definitely. Yeah, so
that's true, but we haven't seen Dominic in there for a while.
Yeah, it's been
a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's in fight camp right now, so
yeah, that's why.
Yeah, but Jimmy says applause for Ghost. Rue says Ghost eye for detail is something else. It sure is. Rain says Ghost was able to change my mind. Hell yeah. He appreciates the compliments. Stamina stands up and applauds. Rue with some more applause. Rain says he's waving the flags for Ghost now. Gotta stitch together the Kana one with the Ghost one, of course. Cintra says that was so much to soak in. Gotta watch this segment again. Oh, you know it. James says, just remember when Anik said some BS about custody battles, he's not very good. Well, those insertions are definitely weird and not great, but I don't know if I'd say that, makes him awful.
It's weird. It just makes it weird. Like why? Why?
Yeah, those were head scratchers. And who knows if he was fed that line to, throw in for whatever ESPN reasons. You never know. But Anik
was never like that before. No. So, it's coming from somewhere.
Yeah. Rue says Gooden was great. He's a pro. Yeah. Yep. Stamina says Bisping is awesome for technique and insight, for opinion and understanding of rules, much less so. He's the one most likely to go off topic, which either could be hilarious or distracting. Yep. Very true. James says Gooden, Sanko, and Hardy, if he was still there. Okay, throw Laura in with those two would be very interesting.
I don't think they're Gooden and Hardy were really good together. Just those two together. Sanko obviously would do fine with them, but I think that Gooden and Hardy were very good together. It's going to be interesting what they're going to do once things start opening up and they go into Europe again. Who's going to be on? Is it going to be Bisping and Gooden?
I think Gooden lives over there. I think so.
Yeah. Is it going to be Bisping though? He's British, but he lives in LA. So I don't know.
He's Americanized, fully Americanized.
Oh, yeah, 100% now. But he's still British, of course. Like, who are they? Are they going to throw Darren Till in there with him?
Oh my God! Can you imagine that train wreck?
No, that would be fucking amazing.
Oh boy. Yeah, Cintro says Rojogan is bad at commentary. Jen says honestly, no commentary is best. Rue says Go should just do fight companion. James says, yeah, why is he doing that? Oh yes, Jimmy points out. Remember when Joe Rogan said Jan was eating Stylebender's feints? Oh, good times. Good times, and my oh my, thank you for spending it with us, you guys. That was a whole lot of interaction. Love to see the enthusiasm every single week. Love to see the great analysis that Ghost Phantom provides us ever so kindly. And I'm glad that I could get that to work because it wasn't looking great there at the beginning of the show. So yeah, good shit there as we reach the end, right around the 1 hour 30 mark. Once again, same as last week, and surely we'll go longer next time with more to talk about. Hopefully, I mean, what UFC 269 is next week, right? I'm gonna be on the road again. Had a little break here, getting back to Vegas, so that'll be fun. But in the end, we have reached the end. So don't forget, you guys, follow us, like, share, and subscribe at Drake Riggs _ at Steve K MMA at The Scrap News. You already know. Follow, like, share, subscribe. Audio versions on Anchor and Spotify now. Just search WMMA Today and Google Podcast or whatever. I just know the two main ones. I know I tried to get them on other stuff and kind of gave up, but because Spotify's big, Anchor's there, whatever, where it is, and you're here live anyway for the most part. So appreciate all you guys. Steve, anything this week?
Not this week, but there's going to be MMA Inc. coming.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome news. As for me, as Scott mentioned, did speak to John Lineker this past week. That is out now. You can check it out on bjpen.com. Talked to him ahead of the Bibiano Fernandez fight, which was supposed to be this week, I think, actually. But of course, event has been pushed back. So he will have to wait for his title fight, but hopefully sometime soon in January-ish. Also spoke to Erin Blanchfield, finally caught up with Cold Blooded. Very fun getting to chat with her. She will be fighting next week at UFC 269 against Miranda Maverick. So we'll be there for that. Good stuff. MiamiNews.com for that one. Great getting to talk with her about plenty of things. And then who was the other person? Kyoji Horiguchi, of course, the RIZIN champ, looking to get back his bantamweight title. There is Bellator this week as well, you guys. We didn't talk about it because no ladies, but he's fighting Sergio Pettis on Friday.
That's a good fight.
Gonna be probably the one I'm most excited for this week, honestly. I mean, great UFC main event too, but I love Horiguchi. He is phenomenal. Sergio Pettis is also very good.
Really good.
Yes. So champ versus champ battle. Champ looking to get back the belt he never lost. Gonna be awesome. So yeah, check out the chat with Kyoji. He's a very funny guy, and he's learned. Steve, he barely needed his interpreter. Awesome. He was pretty much just speaking English. So still, amazing. A little rough, but he pretty much did very well there for the full 20 minutes or so that we talked. So always a good time with Kyoji. Very fun, funny guy. Check that one out. And then we'll probably going to try to get working on Broad Horizon episode 12 maybe this week, and got some other things in the works, of course. And as I said, we'll be in Vegas next week for UFC 269 on the ground for SCMP. So again, as always, if you guys ever have any questions for any of the fighters, let me know and I'll do my best to ask them throughout the week, whether it's media day or the post-fight interviews. We'll have it all there. Gonna be a good time. So I think that is about it. Jimmy says that was a fantastic show. Glad you thought so, man, especially for the condensed nature that it had, being smaller than usual, same as last week. Scott says great show as well, fellas. Well done. Scott. Thank you. Scott is the man. Good luck with the search on the walkout song. Oh, and Ghost also reminds us Riddell versus Fiziev is this week too. Crazy. There's some good fights indeed. And Stamina says sterling work from all involved until the next installment, Scrap Packers. Indeed. So, Steve, let's send it on home. Let's get out of here. I'm pretty hungry. I'm glad we didn't go that long. I'm starving right now.
Yeah. Until next time, we appreciate you guys. Whoever comes in the chat, we appreciate you guys on a weekly basis. We love you. Without you guys, there's just Drake and I talking to the abyss. And if you're not in the chat and you're watching, we thank you. We just don't know who you are. Can't really say a name, and we can't get you on screen. But if you want to come in on chats, Mondays, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, we would love to have you. In the chat, we'll have you as well. Until next week, guys, enjoy the fights. They're going to be fucking amazing.
Peace.